Alright, can you hear me? Cool. If you're worried about my hair being nerdy right now, just wait until it dries and then it will be really puffy and it will look even worse. So before I proceed, I just want to give you guys a bit of a life update. My microphone has decided to retire early at less than a year old, because apparently I don't know how to take care of my things, so I need to get a new microphone, which is sad, because I have a really interesting story behind how I got this microphone. I have a microphone now. I found my microphone, so now my sugar daddy won't have to buy me a freaking new one. Now, some of you might have thought that was a little bit too personal information for me to share. That might have been a bit parasocial of me, which leads into the subject of today's video. Parasocial relationships. That was the worst transition I've ever done in my life. No, stop it. I'm the man. I'm supposed to take care of myself. Alex is killing me! Alex is killing me! Alex is killing me! Alex is killing me! And if you're wondering if you can join, you cannot. It is. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about parasocial relationships, and there are a lot of videos about parasocial relationships on YouTube, but most of them approach the subject from the perspective of the audience who have fallen victim to the parasociality of following a content creator on YouTube. Like any good parasocial relationship video, I'm going to briefly define what a parasocial relationship is. It's a one-sided relationship between the audience and a content creator or actor or historical figure. Parasocial relationships tend to be so intense that your brain tricks you into thinking that somebody you're watching on screen is someone you know personally. I used to be somebody who experienced parasocial relationships very intensely, but I haven't in over a year at this point, because I've sort of lost my ability to become obsessed with people. I might develop a parasocial relationship again in the future, but more recently I've been experiencing what it's like to finally be at the receiving end of a parasocial relationship. In this video, I kind of want to discuss what a content creator's reaction should be to a parasocial relationship, especially if you're a young content creator, or if you are a content creator with a small and slowly growing audience. So there are 3 things I think that content creators should work on when navigating parasocial relationships, and the first one is knowing your audience. And when I say you need to know your audience, I don't mean that you need to pander to your audience, whether your audience is a conservative audience or a more liberal audience or furries or into anime, but I am saying you need to recognize who your audience is and how to navigate that. For instance, if you are a teenage girl who enjoys making political and religious content and you're getting a lot of older men following you, you should probably avoid wearing schoolgirl uniforms or anime outfits or camgirl outfits, because that might get a certain kind of attachment from your audience that you don't want. Also, you probably don't want to be interacting one-on-one with your audience very much if your audience is primarily older men. Now, I'm not talking about myself if you thought I was. My audience, I think, is mostly women. I think it's pretty close to half and half, but I think it is mostly women. There's a YouTuber that I don't really watch because her content isn't really for me, but her name is Brocky, and I was literally introduced to her by my ex-boyfriend because she is a teenage American blonde androgynous YouTuber. And the thing is, when I saw what she looked like, I went, this looks like a kid. She could also be like me, you know, she could be a very young-looking 20-year-old. Recently, she's added her age to her bio, where she states that she is 15 years old and requests that people not be creepy or weird to her. Now, Brocky's content tends to revolve around nostalgia baiting, which, if you know anything about millennials, that's how you get millennials. She has a very early 2000s looking bedroom, she has a very early 2000s looking computer, and she plays very early 2000s looking games. I believe that she has a lot of millennial men in her audience, including the individual who shared the channel with everybody. And I also know that Brocky has a Discord server, which, you know, she can do whatever she wants. I hope her parents know what she's doing, because she is 15. I don't really think that creating a Discord server was necessarily a good idea, because it just creates easier access to you as a child who has, I believe, a much older audience. Also, if you're a grown adult who has mostly kids in your audience, it's responsible to try to remain family friendly and definitely not play upon their innocence and try to scam them out of buying things from you. The second thing I noticed a lot of content creators do, and this is mostly content creators on Instagram and maybe Twitter, they really put effort into fostering and encouraging parasocial relationships. I'm talking about people who will post photos of themselves to their stories where they're taking a selfie from their bed and saying,
"Good morning, loves. How you doing?"
Adding photos and adding this dialogue and this attitude where you're in a relationship with the person viewing your content. I'm uncomfortable with people really encouraging audience members to have a parasocial relationship with them, because parasocial relationships will develop whether they do anything or not. That's just the nature of social media. Really extreme parasocial relationships hurt the content creator and the viewer. I knew somebody on Instagram that I don't talk to anymore. Just the way she would talk to her audience was very personal, like acting as if the audience nebulously was somebody she was in a friendship, dating relationship with. I think she is 18 at this point, but she wasn't even 18 at the time, and her platform has been growing since she was 15 or 16. So I don't expect her to
be responsible with the feelings of these older people following her online.
But she probably has mostly young kids following her. When adults in their 20s and 30s go out of their way to encourage people to develop parasocial relationships with them, I think it's very irresponsible and inconsiderate. It's not cool to act as if you know them or to act as if you care about them when you don't. The last thing I want to talk about is content creators dating subscribers or followers. And this is something I've become a lot more passionate about recently as somebody who kind of experienced this a little bit.
Can I be very vulnerable and honest with you? I'm a very confident person, but I struggle with self-esteem.
I'm pretty confident in myself and happy with who I am, but the older I get, the more I've come to terms with the fact that I'm not the most attractive person to other people. It's not necessarily because I'm ugly or anything, it is genuinely because I look like a child and behave in a very energetic, erratic way in public. So it makes sense that I am not most people's cup of tea, and that is okay, and I've accepted that, but it also means that, especially as late as just a few months ago, if somebody online expressed interest in me, my reaction was to not miss this opportunity. I didn't want to miss this opportunity because somebody was into me. But the reality of it is, there are a lot of people who will be into me. Most of them are not going to be compatible with me enough to date. From September 2023 to January 2024, I was interacting with a lot of people on Instagram, where people who subscribe to me on YouTube or people who had been consuming my content for months could reach out to me. And if I talked to them and they already had a bit of a crush on me showing interest in them just spiked their crush to a deep infatuation. And this is new to me because in relationships, I tend to be the more infatuated one. Especially when I was talking to somebody and I was expressing to him I would be open to dating him, I just wanted to get to know him a bit better, that would make them extremely excited and extremely attached. And then they would be frustrated that I wasn't nearly as infatuated with them. And then I would feel frustrated that I wasn't infatuated with them because that's how I work. I become crazy about the person I'm in love with. I become nuts, bananas, and I wasn't feeling that with these people. It's not because there was the more I got to know them, the more I found out each one had slight kind of deep-rooted issues that I didn't really want to get into a relationship with. But more than that, they were infatuated with me because they had been consuming my content for weeks, if not months. So they kind of already had a sense that they knew me. But the thing is, I didn't even know they existed. They went from listening to me talk and seeing my face from a YouTube video to video calling or texting or voice calling, and that's a very different medium. And obviously I'm going to behave differently in a voice call than in a YouTube video because I don't know you.
I think a lot of content creators talk about this.
But for me, it's a bit new because up until a few months ago, I thought I was really blessed to have a YouTube channel because I didn't have to worry about ever being undesirable again. It's not a good foundation for a relationship. There is this YouTuber that I watch from time to time named Isaac Uncooked, and what I'm about to say, I'm going to take with a grain of salt because everything I say from this point onward will be from his mouth.
It might not have happened, but things like this do happen.
So Isaac Uncooked is a YouTuber who a couple years ago was making some pretty in-depth detransition and transitioning research, and now mostly just uses his platform as an internet diary. A few months ago, he ended a relationship, a somewhat serious relationship with a woman who used to be one of his subscribers. Isaac Uncooked has been very open that he has borderline personality disorder. This girl sounded as if she was maybe autistic or had a personality disorder herself, so recipe for disaster. But this girl became infatuated with this YouTuber and began making her own videos to get his attention, began doing things on the internet to get his attention, and then over time got close enough to him where she ended up moving in with him. And when she moved in with him, she realized that the YouTuber that she had been in love with was extremely different in person and as a boyfriend that she was living with. So that relationship ended because they simply couldn't live together, or Isaac was too difficult to live with. Now, obviously, this can happen with any sort of relationship, but it was already an unstable foundation because this subscriber was, no offense, but crazy enough to pursue a relationship with a content creator, and this content creator was desperate enough to accept a relationship from a subscriber. Another example is Blair White and Joey. We don't hear much about their relationship now. I think they are still engaged. Blair has tried to keep their relationship on the down low. And relationships between a subscriber and a content creator can work out,
Just as relationships between two people of vastly different ages can work out.
but it doesn't work if you're seeking it out. These kind of things can get ugly really fast. So yeah, so that's basically all I had to talk about in this video. When navigating parasocial relationships as a content creator, you need to know your audience. You want to establish a good boundary between the camera where you're not actively encouraging a parasocial relationship. Number 3, don't date your subscribers. I think that's pretty much it. It's a pretty short video, but I've missed short content, so. I don't know you, but I love you, loved you long as I remember, or at least since your last upload. You were 16 at my birth. Whoa, how long will this parasocial love affair go on? Found your pictures of your childhood and I wondered, would we have been friends? Found your family, your addiction. Could I have helped you battle through it?